Welcome back to PJ Chen Design Channel. We are going to learn how to use the most simple and effective way to build this feather pendant. Are you ready? Let's get started. We're going to starting with a picture command or a picture frame in Rhino 5, and we're gonna bring in the image right there. Make sure that that's the size you want, but first of all, it's hard to see the grid behind, so we want to coming into the material, and right here you can change the transparency so it will be easier for you to see the grid. And then in this case, I want them to be about roughly about 30 millimeter, and I can rotate it later for the orientation, but I'm just gonna lock it temporary. And we don't have to trace everything because this is just a guideline, but we do need a line from here for the part we are going to set the stone. We need to have some sort of a guideline over here, so I'm going to trace something look like this and follow this line. The ideal is you need to know like what size of a stone that you're going to set, and you definitely don't want to change it the thickness too dramatically, otherwise you will need to change the stone size. Okay, and the rest of it we will just use this as a guideline. Doesn't have to be followed exactly. Now if you feel like this is not what you like size wise, shape wise, then you can turn on the control point and kind of edit it. Okay, so now let's doing each of the part. Ideally, what I like to do is to sweep to rail on each of them and make sure each of them look nice. But this actually look really uniform. So what I like to do is I'm going to use the conic corners on the rectangle, and then that's create whatever shape that you think is well fit. And profile, this is what actually I'm looking for, something a little bit rounded there, and I'm going to split with the point right at the quadrant, so make sure our quadrant is on, and then we can delete the part on the top. Okay, so once we have that, we are gonna coming over to a surface, and we want to use the revolve command, and the axis will set it up here, and we want to do 360 degree. Let's take a look on the perspective, and this is what we got there. This will be the element for each of the feather part there. Okay, so let's start doing the first row. Keep in mind that the first row is higher than the second row, and that's how you can get them look layering. So let's put it over here and kind of a turn around and something like this, right? You also want to take a look on the perspective, make sure it's not like way too bumpy like what I have there. If you like that, and or if you don't, you can always use a scale tool to make sure that especially fitting into that area there. All right, so that's the first one, and then I'm going to do the second one. Simply just copy this to here, hit the Alt key, and I need to make it smaller, something like this. All right, so what we're looking for is actually you want to make sure that this connection is not too ugly, right? It's not overpowering on the first one, and just need to make sure that this one is not higher than the first one, right? So we want it to be lower, and this is exactly what we're looking for. And then we just need to continue copy this one, rotate it, and scale it down. And if you feel like you need to stretch in any direction, you could. It doesn't have to be always that very symmetrical. You try to make a little bit more natural there. You just need to make sure it's gradually getting lower. So then we finish first row. It look like this, and I always like to keep on my front view, I always like to keep original because you may stretch, it may distort the shape of things like that. Then the second one I wanted to do, make another copy, want to scale it down. And actually 1D scale, make it a bit longer so that will fit that area a little bit better. And then of course we need to move it down much lower. So I'm going to move it down somewhere about here. It needs to be lower than the first set that we have over there. Okay, so then that will look really layering. Let's take a look on the perspective. And look like it need to be a little bit lower. Okay, so look nice. That's moving up. Another one, and this one we actually want it to be a little bit bigger or higher than the bottom one, and we might want to make it a little bit fatter. And again, making another copy, rotate it a little bit. You got something like this. Alright, so let's take a look on this. This is if that is what you want, then that's fine. If it is not, you can keep tweaking until that you find the shape that you like. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to hiding this picture right here, and so this is a result that we have. Look like the second one is a little bit too tall, so I'm just gonna move it down a little bit. And we also wanted to check on the render view and see if that is okay. Alright, so now we have this, and I'm going to stop tweaking here because it sometimes take a long time to tweak into the way that you like it. Alright, so the next things that I wanted to do is I need to do a profile, and this profile is going to be another conic corner that I like to use, and we're gonna starting with the 3 points. So point 1 is here, point 2 is on the other rail, and then I want to make them stand up about that tall, coming down like this. Alright, and I actually need this to be a bit longer and move it down a little bit, so that way we have it intersect. Okay, so let's put it in other color to take a look on that section there. We're going to use the sweep to rail 1, rail 2, and let's take a look on this guy. And then you get something like this. Alright, so let's do one more time. Rail 1, rail 2, and you click on this cross section, and then you get something like this. Alright, so take a look if this is what you like. I do find out it's a little bit bumpy there. I do not want it to bump like this, and I actually need to have the bottom that's a little bit taller. So what we're gonna do is duplicate edges of this end and also this end right there. So now we're gonna delete this guy. We're gonna delete the surface we did and the surface over there we did, and we are going to use this new profile here and new profile over here, and let's make it a bit taller by stretch them 1D, so then I can have them taller. I always create a surface first and find a curve, delete the surface and use that surface. So let's try one more time. We're gonna do sweep 2, rail 1, rail 2, cross, cross, and cross, and make sure they all align correctly. Look, this one is not aligned, so it will twist. So make sure they align correctly, and then you hit enter, and then you want to maintain the height, so that will look smoother. Alright, I also want to record a history just in case I change my mind. Alright, so this one look like it's a little bit too tall over. Alright, so look like we need to moving this down a little bit. Something like that. You still have a little bit on the top, but okay. And then we can also use this one, and we can kind of stretch up a little bit to make it taller, so you will definitely have them intersect. Okay, all right, so now we have this done. We're going to do some bowling together. So we are going to pick up all the red part, and we want to do bowling union. Okay, so make sure that that is done, and we also want to close this. The two ways you can close this, you can either use the cap, which will give you a flat surface if that is what you want, that's okay. But I also like to use the patch tool and to patch this one. You do have a choice to pick up the curve and surface edges. In this case, make sure you pick up the surface edges. And you'll get something like this. Let's do one more time. On the other side, we're gonna use the patch, surface edges, and we will get something like this. Okay, if the end is looking okay for you, you can go ahead to join it. All right, make sure they all close solid tool, and then you can do more adjustment if you want to rotate it, kind of whatever, you know, that look good to you. But what I'm going to do here is we want the back to be flat, right? So I want to create a box look like this. And then for this box, I want to make sure that I can see every single feather I'm going to do. So somewhere about here, take a look if it still look good to you. I think we have that one that's a little bit too big, but it's okay. I'm not gonna tweak it anymore. So I'm going to have that one. We want to make a bowling difference. This one and this one will be difference out by that one. So now we have a flat back. Okay, we also need to trim the things there. So one thing you can use is use a bowling split. So the red one will be split by this one. So now we have some extra inside of the shape that we can delete. Alright, so this will be our feather. Let me go ahead to hide all the curve. And we're gonna hide it. Let's go ahead to, if you want it to be two-tone, you probably don't want the bowling here, but since it's going to be one single tone, and then we can rotate it, the angle, like this. Alright, so this is our tutorial today for the stone setting part. I have a playlist for stone setting, or I have a whole online class for stone setting. You can check out the link below. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. See you next.